I love talking with passionate business owners. Their enthusiasm is irresistible, their knowledge is invaluable, and their wisdom holds the keys to transforming your passion into a successful business. As a marketing strategist, I help people around the world innovate and grow their business. I'm Jay Hamilton Roth, and this is Business with Passion. This two-part episode features guests who help others to find, grow, and magnify their passionate businesses. Nancy Anderson is both a career and life consultant and the author of the best-selling book, Work with Passion: How to Do What You Love for a Living, based on her own and her clients' experiences. In the years following publication, Nancy continued to refine the intuitive, practical approach that helps her clients find and create the life they were born to live.
You know, you can't start with looking out there to find, okay, well, that has meaning, and I'm going to go do it. You know, like the latest, hottest trends in business, you know, you see those articles, well, I'm going to do one of those, or I'm going to get in one of those businesses. And that's the opposite of passion. Passion is something that comes from deep inside of you. It's always been there since you were very small. But it takes time and it takes history. I was talking to the women at my table where I said, you know, it's interesting because listening to everybody's stories, there were little glimmers of what they were going to do when they got older. But it takes time and it takes history to intersect with a human being and the development. Where is that going to flower and when is that going to flower? I could not figure out why my clients wouldn't just go be happy. Why did they keep coming back to me? You know, it seemed perfectly logical. The process I was using at that time wasn't very internal. You know, it was mostly just looking at your past and your job and, you know, get your little resume written and then go interview and get a job. Okay, so, and that works. To this day, that will work. You know, you can get the phone book out and start calling and you're going to find openings and you can go in and get a job. And so that's what I was doing and helping them do that. And I was good at it, but they kept coming back. There was 6 months later, my phone would ring and the same old problems would be happening to them. And that's when I started to think, you know, I must be doing something wrong because why aren't they happy? You know, work and a job and there you go, they're making money. But the piece that was missing, which I wasn't, remember this, when you're creating something, you don't really know yourself what you're doing. All you know is something's wrong and something needs to get better, something needs to change. And so that's when because I had been a writer and I had published and I knew enough that you have to know your own story. You have to know something about, so I just decided, I think I'm going to have them write an autobiography. And I'll find out, you know, what am I missing? And it changed the entire business because it shifted the focus over to where the real problem was. You can see why I like my work, you know, because it's endlessly fascinating. I mean, I never see the same thing in a story, although I see it the exact same thing, because we're all just exactly alike in what we have to go through in our development. So what I try to do with my clients is to see where are they in their development and how much in tune are they with who they are and how much do they know about the developmental stages and what you do at certain times of your life. And see, in our culture is very youth-oriented. Everything is about outer success, how much you own, you know, what you look like, which is, I'm not really against material things at all. I mean, I think you should have them and enjoy them, but they shouldn't run your life. I never would have thought that I was succeeded in doing what I'm doing because it's so natural. You know, it's just what I do. As I said earlier, when people would say, I always feel better after I talk to you, and I never could figure out, what do they mean? What do I do? You know, because work is considered a lot of people as you're doing, you know, the Industrial Revolution, you know, you're creating widgets or something. How many of these can you turn out in a day? Where sometimes work is just when you think about something and you come up with the right answer for people. But that doesn't feel like work to you, it's just what you want to do anyway. You know, the economy will go up and down, but passion lasts forever. And if you understand that, you won't be so concerned about what's going on in the outside world, but you look and you're concerned what's going on in your inside world. Because if you can tune in to the authentic self You are right in tune with your historical moment in business. It's just uncanny the way this happens. I've seen it over and over where people come up with what they want to do, and it's exactly what the marketplace needs. But it would not have been successful 5-10 years earlier. I think that off-track signal is when you're off the passion path, is when you make money your priority. And another one is if you're really thinking all the time about what other people think. Because see, you'll freeze up. It's like the story that's in the new book about the client when she had these 2 graduate degrees in health, and she's working for a health agency and hated it, all the politics. She's another entrepreneur. See, she was fighting, wanting to have the control. As a result, she had become a very controlling person, just micromanager, drove people crazy. And I asked her one day, what do you do when you're not working? She said, oh, I'm up early in the morning and I'm cleaning my garage and my house and my neighbors just love it. They want me to come over and organize everything for them. I said, why don't you do that for a living? She said, what? Are you out of your mind? I couldn't do that. My father would have a fit. Be a cleaning lady? I said, no, I don't mean cleaning lady. I mean being a professional organizer, cleaning. There's a lot of organizations that use people who come in. You wouldn't actually yourself have to do the cleaning, but you know, you could run a company or something. So why don't you go talk to people who do that? I said, what the heck? So she did. She talked to the big corporate companies, and then she talked to the mid-sized people, and then she found this guy that lived near her and went in and had a talk with him, and he said, you know, I've been looking for somebody that I could turn this business over to. He said, I could work out a deal with you where you could buy me out and I would stay on and train you, because you're not going to make any money until you learn how to clean, you know, because you just, it's a time thing. So she comes into my office, I was in the city then, and she has this little tray thing with all cleaning products in it. Her eyes were just like sparkling, and she was so, let me show you this. If you use this, she said, you know, you can't buy this retail, Nancy. And I thought, passion. She is really turned on by these products. So that's what she wound up doing. She bought him out. And of course I said to her, don't tell your father until you make some money. The doctor father would have a fit because he paid for those 2 graduate degrees. So that's what she did. He did have a fit when she did tell him about it. We didn't raise you to do that kind of work. And then she sent him the receipts of a month's take. Then he started bragging to everybody about his daughter, the entrepreneur. You know, you can't think your way to passion. Passion is a very intense feeling. And when I say feeling, I'm not talking about being all emotionally out of control or anything. Usually that chaotic state of mind comes about because you're not in touch with your feeling. A feeling is a very quiet, deep sensation, very powerful, very intense. You can make money in a business, but to me, the business that you choose to get into should be about a way for you to become a better person and for you to serve people in a way that you value, and that you have that wonderful connection between you and your customers. You know, they love what you love, and they get all excited about your product or your service, and it's just this love affair. You know, it's like a mutual love affair, if I can use those romantic terms. And you see that excitement in people that are, to me, that are really great entrepreneurs. But that, again, early on, there's going to be this need to be in control. And if the person doesn't get in control, all heck is going to break loose. And that's when they'll have the troubles with the bosses, the conflicts with authority figures, you know, and they don't realize that their inner self is pushing them to move more and more toward the line. So I always tell people that the more you can sell something, you know, and actually know that you could make a sale, that you have that experience for 3 to 5 years, and then you're prepared then to have your own business, because it's basically about you being able to connect with the customer. And your customer, not all customers, but knowing your customers. And the only way you know that is by knowing what you value. If I had to put a label on the first half of life, I would say try stuff. It's about trying everything. You try on a different persona, you try a different job, you try different people. And that's what you're supposed to do, is experiment. The second half of life, that's when all of that energy starts to get focused into something that's much more authentically you. And you're not trying on different masks anymore. You're taking off the mask so that the authentic self can emerge. If you really want to have your own business, if you've not ever had your own business, or you've not ever been in sales or anything like that, you've got to work with somebody else who is an entrepreneur for at least 5 years, so that you can understand, how do you get the business, how do you keep the business, what's the cycle, when are the ups, when are the downs, and that way you're getting paid, but they're paying all the overhead while you're learning. It's like your own MBA program. And you may find out that you're actually happier in that role, because not everybody is an entrepreneur, and they shouldn't even try. And it's no stigma. Who cares, as long as you like what you're doing? People say, well, I've been sending my resumes to these corporations, and I'm thinking, what in the world are you doing when you're 50 years old going to big corporations? They don't need you. They don't want you. You need to go where it's smaller, more entrepreneurial, but see, the big names get all of the press. And so, well, we think, but most people, once they're at midlife and beyond, they don't need that much structure. The corporation's all about structure. It's the incredible need for freedom that drives the entrepreneur, because they know if they have the freedom, because John Stuart Mill wrote about that in his famous essay on liberty, where he said there are two main ingredients for creativity. One is variety, the other is freedom. And that is what fosters the creative self. So if you have an entrepreneur, that's what they like, the variety. They like a lot of different things that stimulate them, and then they need the freedom, to kind of put it all together. And then they can just do their thing. But a lot of people are incredibly threatened by that lack of structure, and they get very nervous about it. And so that's how you know where you are. How much structure do you need in order to be productive? There's two kinds of people in work. There is the growth type. I don't have a blackboard here, so I'll just pretend there's one. If you have a curve like this, okay, at the bottom of the curve, right up to where the curve levels off, you have the growth personality. That's the startup types. That's you. Now, once you hit this curve and it levels out, you have profit maximization, and those are your maintainers. Those are people who keep the trains running. They're the human resources people. They keep, and they don't have any idea what to do with these people on this bottom of the curve. No company does of any size. Because why? They get bored once they figure everything out. And so they're constantly jumping out, starting something over. Unless companies can give these people internal startup projects, they won't stay. And then they think they're flaky. When I was younger, I thought that success was something very different than what I know it is now. I thought it was measured by where you lived and how much money you had and what you dressed like and all that kind of stuff. And now, that's so boring. I come from the position in 34 years in business. I have not seen the economy affect my business. It doesn't matter what's happening in the economy, really. It doesn't matter happening to me. Once I started to be more selective and to ask the right kind of questions, and like, for example, today, I won't even talk to anybody on the phone unless they've read the book first. They call me up and they want to talk. I said, well, read the book and go through it, because you've got to check it out and see if it's the process that you want to do. Be sure you know what you're getting into. And one fellow I worked with after that, it was a top sales guy. He says, I knew right away I wanted to work with you because you qualified me. He knew what I was doing. I was qualifying him to see that if he was capable. But even then, people will get into it and then they will give up on it because it's difficult. But I don't get dismayed by that, because I know they're going to call me back. Maybe it'll be a year, 2 years. I just got an email yesterday from a client I haven't heard from for 2 years. She said, oh, I've been working up my courage to write this email to you because I thought you would be really upset with me, and I went backwards and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And of course, I didn't feel that way at all about her. I wrote her back. I said, no, I knew when you were ready that you'd contact me. See, I never chase my clients. I trust their process. There's nothing I can do. They have to work it out. So my success rate depends really on looking at things over 5, 10, maybe even 15-year period with people. Sometimes that's how long it takes, but what's the difference? Time's going to go by anyway. I'm not in a hurry. A hobby is something you do for you. A passion, you not only want to do it for you, you think everybody should do it. That's a passion. And it's also going to be tied right into your values. In other words, your 5 values that you wrote down there, you probably didn't have time, your ideal client is going to have exactly the same values. See? And so that's why how you target in marketing, you go after the people who have your values. You don't try to sell, buffalo meat to vegetarians, nor do you try to sell things that are really glittery to people who are plain. So, I mean, it's common sense, but if it were common, the world would be a different place. I do just what I want every day. I wake up, I do what I want to do. Because I don't have, I'm comfortable financially, and I've been very conservative. I'm a very frugal person. I don't need a lot of material things. And so because freedom is my ultimate value, I don't want to have a lot of possessions. I don't want to have a lot of things I have to take care of, especially now at this stage of life. I love the mobility that I have. And as far as, I have and I am and I will make the contribution that I want to make to the world. And I know that down to my toenails because of the feedback I get from people. In fact, I kind of worry sometimes. I mean, I don't mean to sound, but it's like this connection that I have with really into the hundreds of people now that is extremely meaningful to me. It's very deep, it's very profound, and they can call me after 5 years and we're right there. And it's just, they know that. And I have a client, in fact, she said, I was thinking about you the other day. I know you don't ever get sick, but I don't want you to get sick. I said, I'm not going to get sick. She doesn't want to be without having be able to call me, or have me in her life. And see, what better thing could you accomplish than that, to mean that much to people?
For me, the key strategic insights of Nancy Anderson's success are, first, initially unhappy with her early clients' results, she developed new tools to address their core issues. Next, her best-selling book and accompanying website has saved her the need to actively market her services and permits her to be highly selective with prospective clients. Lastly, Nancy's gift of helping people to unearth their life's passion is not just a professional gift, but a deep-seated personal gift as well. The Sonoma Mountain Business Cluster's mission is to create high-value jobs in the North Bay. They provide expertise to grow businesses through their mentoring program, in addition to hosting networking events, educational events, access to capital, and business services.
The Sonoma Mountain Business Cluster is the North Bay's first business incubator. We've been here since 2007. We opened the doors in July of 2007. And we have built up to having 17 companies here, 17 startup companies. We're a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and our mission is to create high-value jobs here in the North Bay, and we do that by enabling and accelerating the success of startup companies. So, in a nutshell, we're here to help startup companies be successful. They're the ones that create the jobs. And the Sonoma Mountain Business Cluster is the only business incubator, we believe, north of the Golden Gate Bridge, west of Sacramento, and south of Oregon. So we're it for the North Bay. As a business incubator, we provide two major things to the companies in the incubator. We provide plug-and-play office space, number one. So what does that mean? It means from day one you can start working on your business, not building infrastructure. So the offices are furnished. We've taken care of infrastructure needs like, networking, internet, phone system, answering machines, all that kind of stuff. The advantage being, it probably saves the company $8,000 or $10,000 when they're starting a company, and it saves you weeks, maybe months worth of hassle in setting them up. So those are important, but they're the basics. The big differentiator then for a business incubator is some of the services we provide. So we have a mentoring program. first and foremost. That's one of the biggest benefits, I think, of being in an incubator. It's got 25 to 30 people on our mentoring board now. They're all CEOs, retired CEOs, active angel investors, serial entrepreneurs. They're people who have two things. They have experience and they have network. And both of those are like gold for startup companies. After you get beyond that first technology piece, often the success of your company will hinge on who you know, not what you know. And that's the importance of this group. It's such a well networked group. It's such an educated group. So we can save the companies from making mistakes, and we can open the doors that they need to be successful. That's really the mentoring program and the mentoring group. Secondly, access to capital. So many of the companies that come here are looking for money. I don't have any money personally to give you, but we have good friends. So we have good relationships with the North Bay Angels, with Keiretsu Forum, who are two of the major angel groups up here in the North Bay. We're also now forging relationships with venture capital firms. A number of those are pending, and that's pretty exciting because capital is the fuel for startup companies, and so we're looking to bring those two groups together. That's part of our function. We're also looking at putting together a revolving loan fund, which would be available to the companies here in the incubator. So really what we're saying, whether it's debt or whether it's equity in angels in the form of angel investing, venture capital, we are moving to be that linkage for you to bring those pieces together. So mentoring, firstly. Secondly, access to capital. We have relationships with Sonoma State University. They're a key partner of ours, so we can help with interns. We have some level of services that are available to the companies that are in here in terms of a little bit of accounting, a little bit of legal that's potentially available to you. So we really help the companies get themselves off the ground in a supportive environment. And then the biggest thing is being around other entrepreneurs. It's the environment. Often entrepreneurs find that it's a lonely business. It's very isolating. Perhaps they're in their garage, the classic entrepreneur in their garage. Or perhaps they're, they have an office at home. It's a really hard road. Many entrepreneurs will tell you that. So being here provides you, in a very affordable infrastructure, it provides you the opportunity to be around other entrepreneurs, and they help each other. We have service provider networks. They share those amongst themselves. They support each other, and that's a huge piece. It's kind of an intangible, but I can't tell you how important that really is. So you put those two things together. It's the services combined with the plug-and-play office space, and it's a great formula for success for startups. So I started out on the technical side. I have a PhD in physics, in optics and lasers, and the first years of my career were in that realm. Just after school, I was fortunate enough to go work at NASA at the Goddard Space Flight Center, and it was just happened to be the timing when all of the repair mission for the Hubble Space Telescope was going through. So after I did a couple of years there, then I left. I went and worked in industry in the optics. I was an optical designer for a number of years. I worked in Singapore at a company called Avimo Electro-Optics. Got really great grounding in high volume optics and what can be made and what can't, and have designed lots of optical systems. So designed night vision goggles, telescopes, binoculars, camera lenses, all kinds of things. And then that's kind of when I got bitten by the entrepreneurial bug. I realized, as many entrepreneurs do, perhaps the value of some of the inventions and some of the creations. And so at that point, I sort of knew that I was heading towards the entrepreneurial side and didn't quite know what that path would take, but I gradually got smaller and smaller in my endeavors, fewer and fewer employees. I went and became director of engineering at a company called Optics One, and that's one of the best known optical design companies in Southern California. And after that, after a couple of years doing that, went and joined a startup company called Advanced Digital Optics. I was one of the very early employees there, one of the principals of the company, and after After 4 years, we basically developed technology in the projection space. So like when projection TVs and things like that. And we developed a product and a portfolio of intellectual property. And we sold that company to JDS Uniphase. I also realized that as part of this entrepreneurial journey, I wanted to head towards the management side of things. So I started getting a grounding in marketing, business development. After the acquisition of ADO, that's when we moved up here to the North Bay, to Santa Rosa, and I was product line manager and business development manager at JDS Uniphase for 2.5 years. So I kind of got, that's a long-winded way of giving you, I got one foot in the technical camp and one foot in the business camp, and have kind of walked the path that many of the companies here are walking now. Why come to a business incubator? And my answer is, the statistics tell it. I mean, there's a group called the National Business Incubator Association, and the National Business Incubator Association has been around a number of years, and they're a lot older than we are. We're still a new organization, but they've collected statistics that show that 80% of companies that graduate from an incubator program are still successfully in business 5 years later. And that's a vastly different statistic from the 70 to 80% that normally fail within 5 years. So my kind of soundbite on that is, which would you like to be? Which 80 would you like to be part of? The 80% success or the 80% failure? Most people find that a kind of a no-brainer of a question. They say, well, of course I want to be part of the 80% success. Then you want to be part of a business incubator.
The Board of Mentors program is absolutely phenomenal. I gave my presentation for this project, and I think in the 2 hours that I was in there with that collection of experience, intellect, brains, I learned more talking to them and made more progress in that 2 hours than I had in the month and a half that I'd been planning the business on my own. The ideas, the experience, the knowledge, it was just unbelievable. And then to be able to basically get people involved in my project that are, very experienced, very talented. Just before you came in, I was sitting with the two gentlemen that are my mentors. One of them's been selling a security product to banks for years. The other one worked at Intel fairly high up related to consumer products. So they have such a wealth of experience, and they're here donating their time because they want to help get things going here. They believe in this area, in the technology, getting the small businesses going. A lot of people don't know that if you have a commercial bank account and money is stolen because of a virus or spyware on your computer, if the bank can't recover that money, they're not obligated to cover your loss. Just kind of a scary thought. The article that I read at Forbes.com gave an example of a couple that they had an online or a home bookkeeping company, and the thieves stole $27,000 out of a line of credit. The bank wasn't able to recover it. The bank's threatening to foreclose on their home. So it's a lot of risk just by doing your online banking. So what we do is we have a product, it's a subscription, it's a CD, and you boot this up into your computer in memory, fresh each time you want to do your online banking. So it brings up a firewall, it installs a complete operating system into memory, you do your banking, and then when you're done, you shut the system off. And basically the cyber thieves and the criminals have no opportunity to insert any kind of spyware into your computer.